The sun glinted off the glass of the Toronto Zoo's entrance, laughter and animal calls weaving into a perfect symphony of ordinary life. Among the crowds, Ivy moved like a spark of warmth, her laughter light and infectious. And there he was, Asher, effortless, magnetic, a presence that drew attention even in the midst of 100 strangers. But then, a flicker of unease. Asher paused mid-step, glancing at something unseen. A subtle tension rippled through his expression, unnoticed by most, but not by Ivy. She thought it fleeting, a distracted glance, nothing more. Moments later, he moved again, walking away into the labyrinth of visitors. Ivy watched him vanish, her curiosity tugging her forward. And then, he was gone. Just like that. No explanation, no goodbye, only a faint echo of the life they had been sharing seconds before. The crowd moved on as if nothing had happened, but Ivy could not. Her heart thudded in disbelief, questions spinning in a storm of confusion. Why had he left? Was it something she had done, or something far darker? A voice seemed to whisper in the air, almost for her eyes alone, if someone you trusted vanished without warning, what would you do? Chase them, wait, or walk away forever? And in that instant, Ivy understood, nothing would ever feel ordinary again. The day that began with laughter had already begun a journey of secrets, danger, and a mystery she could not ignore. The morning sun spilled gold over the sprawling grounds of the Toronto Zoo. Children squealed as they chased one another near the giraffe's enclosure. Exotic birds called from their cages, and the faint scent of cotton candy mingled with the earthy aroma of wet grass. Amidst this chaos of life moved Ivy, unaware that her ordinary day was about to shatter. She wandered through the paths with Asher, his presence both grounding and electric. His laughter floated in the air like a promise, a counterpoint to the distant calls of lions and elephants. Every step they took together seemed effortless, natural. Yet, beneath the surface of this apparent perfection, a ripple of unease ran through the day. Asher paused near the edge of the panda enclosure. His eyes darted momentarily, attention flickering in his jawline, unnoticed by the tourists snapping photos around them. Ivy followed his gaze, expecting an explanation. But there was none. Only the faint crackle of a message arriving on his phone, the screen briefly illuminating his face with a ghost of worry. Moments passed. And then he walked away. At first, Ivy thought it a prank. Perhaps he had gone to buy popcorn or to surprise her with tickets to the Butterfly Pavilion. But as minutes stretched into a half hour, the unease solidified into fear. He had vanished without a word. No note. No message. Only the echo of footsteps disappearing into the crowd. The Toronto Zoo, once alive with joy, now felt claustrophobic. Ivy's pulse quickened. Every stranger she passed seemed a potential witness, or a shadow of the secret that had taken him from her. A faint note of panic pressed against her ribs. The phone in her hand remained stubbornly silent, Asher's name lighting up her screen with nothing but emptiness. The air shifted as Ivy traced his last steps along the pathways lined with maple trees and blooming flowers. Then, in a surreal blur, she glimpsed him across a clearing, standing still as if frozen in time. His expression was unreadable, something dark hiding behind the casual tilt of his head. Before she could approach, he disappeared again, swallowed by the throngs of visitors. By the time Ivy returned home, Toronto's skyline painted in the amber hues of late afternoon, the mystery had deepened. Asher's apartment was empty. His coffee mug still sat on the counter, untouched. A single, folded piece of paper rested beside it. She unfolded it, and the words inside made her blood run cold. Trust no one. Not even me. The message carried more questions than answers. A chill of paranoia crept over her. Was he running from her, or from something else entirely? The shadows of Toronto seemed longer now, the streets and alleys whispering secrets she could not yet understand. Determined to uncover the truth, Ivy followed a lead to a festival downtown that night. The city was alive with lights, music, and the smell of street food. The crowd moved like a tide, pushing her forward and pulling her into chaos. Somewhere within the throng, she sensed him, a flicker of familiarity in the sea of strangers. She pushed through the crowd, only to find an empty space where he should have been. An abandoned scarf fluttered at her feet, a single clue he had left behind. Panic and intrigue collided in her chest. Someone, or something, was orchestrating this disappearance. And Ivy realized she had stepped into a game she did not understand, one in which every step might reveal a truth she was not ready to face. The night deepened, the festival lights casting elongated shadows across the streets of Toronto. Ivy's eyes scanned the crowds for a trace of him, a sign, anything. The city was alive, vibrant, indifferent, and yet it felt suffocating, as if hiding the very answers she sought. As the first act drew to a close, a single thought burned in her mind, mirrored in the quiet pulse of the city. Why did he leave? And will I ever see him again? The morning after Asher's disappearance carried a chill that Toronto's sun could not warm. Ivy walked the streets near the distillery district, the cobblestones damp from an early mist, each step echoing against brick walls that had witnessed centuries of secrets. Every shadow seemed to move in tandem with her thoughts, every passerby a potential clue, a possible threat. She retraced the fragments of the day before, the phone left near the giraffe path, the cryptic message, the lingering tension in Asher's last glance. Something in the rhythm of those moments suggested intention, as if he had set a trail for her to follow, a test only she could pass. Her path led her through the narrow lanes of the festival grounds, where vibrant stalls contrasted sharply with the unease settling in her chest. Music vibrated in the air, a bright, carefree beat that seemed almost mocking. People danced, laughed, and lingered, unaware of the storm quietly unfolding amid them. And then she saw him. Or thought she did. A fleeting figure at the edge of the crowd, vanishing when she blinked. Her heart leapt, hope and doubt entwined. Was it Asher, or another actor in a drama she could not yet understand? She pursued, weaving through the crowd, yet the figure dissolved like smoke between the vendors and festival lights. Her investigation became a rhythm of fragmented clues and misleading signs. A stranger pressed a folded note into her hand and disappeared before she could speak, a hint that Asher had been here, a warning, or a trap. The note's ink smudged, the words cryptic, not all who follow are friends, and not all who flee are enemies. Every step through the festival seemed to fold time. The laughter of children, the smell of roasted nuts, the glimmer of lights reflected in puddles, these ordinary pleasures were tainted now with tension. Ivy could feel eyes tracking her movements, shadows bending toward her, footsteps lingering just a fraction too long behind. Her journey took her upward, to the CN Tower's observation deck. From above, the city spread like a map of possibilities, streets intertwining, alleys folding into themselves, countless paths each hiding secrets. Ivy felt both liberated and trapped by the panorama. Somewhere below, Asher might be moving, somewhere below, answers awaited. Or threats. Perhaps both. A sudden vibration in her pocket drew her attention. Another message. This one brief, trust no one, not even me. The words pulsed in her mind with cold urgency. Ivy's stomach twisted. Every memory of Asher, every laugh, every glance, every tender moment, now carried a dual weight, affection and danger. Her investigation blurred further. Faces in the market seemed familiar, yet they twisted into strangers with each turn. A man sold fruits at St. Lawrence Market, his eyes flicked toward her knowingly, a shadow of recognition that unsettled her. Another hint, another trap. Ivy could not tell which. And then, as the festival lights began to dim and shadows lengthened across Toronto streets, a sense of being followed became impossible to ignore. A figure, always at the edge of her vision, never fully revealing itself, mirrored her steps. Was it protection? Pursuit? Or merely coincidence? She could not tell. Her phone buzzed again, a single phrase this time, every path you follow is both a question and a warning. Ivy stopped in the middle of a street, festival lights casting fragmented reflections across the wet pavement. The city felt alive, and yet hostile, every street corner, every alleyway a decision, a choice with consequences she could not yet see. She realized that with Asher gone, she was no longer merely seeking a lover, she was navigating a maze of secrets, some of which might have nothing to do with him at all. Her pulse thundered in her ears. A sudden gust carried the laughter of children, the distant roar of traffic, and something else, something too subtle to name but impossible to ignore. Danger. Truth. Or the thin line between the two. And then, with a final, almost imperceptible pause in the air, Ivy knew, the next move would change everything. One step forward might uncover the truth, one misstep could shatter it forever. The hum of Billy Bishop Airport filled the air, a low vibration beneath the announcements, footsteps, and rolling suitcases. Ivy's pulse matched it, sharp and insistent. She moved through the terminal, tracing the fragmented trail of Asher's last known steps, a puzzle of shadows and whispers. The glow of the early evening sun fell across the tarmac, painting airplanes in gold, each one a vessel of potential secrets. She spotted him. Or rather, she glimpsed movement, a figure slipping past security checkpoints, blending into the organized chaos. It was Asher, deliberate, calm, impossibly controlled. And yet the tension surrounding him radiated like heat. Ivy followed, her own movements quiet, her breaths measured. She felt the thrill of pursuit mixed with a gnawing dread. Each step toward him felt like stepping deeper into the unknown. The gate loomed ahead, a narrow corridor between Toronto and someplace else, a liminal space where ordinary rules seemed suspended. Asher boarded a plane without a glance back. The hum of engines, the rush of air, and the metallic scent of travel created a surreal atmosphere. Ivy found a ticket, a method, a way, as though fate itself conspired to put her alongside him. Once seated, the cabin became a microcosm of tension. Passengers moved in oblivious rhythms, unaware of the storm quietly unfolding. Ivy watched him, noting every shift of his posture, every fleeting expression, each one a clue and a warning. And then she sensed it, a presence, another variable in a journey she had not anticipated. Someone else aboard knew him, their eyes flicking once, twice, lingering just enough to unsettle the air. The plane lifted from Toronto's runway, the city shrinking below, the skyline blurring into a horizon of uncertainty. Ivy realized the distance now between them was not just physical, it was the chasm of secrets, of motives she could not yet decipher. Asher finally spoke in a whisper that seemed meant only for her ears, though no words reached her directly. The tension in his posture, the subtle trembling of his hands, hinted at truths withheld. Danger, betrayal, urgency, the layers of his disappearance began to peel away, revealing fragments of a life she had never glimpsed before. Each revelation came like a shockwave, unpredictable and unrelenting. And then, the plane's cabin flickered with movement, a man from earlier now approached, recognition in his eyes. Asher's face hardened, a mask of control overlaid with fear. The space between them tightened, and Ivy understood, there was more at stake than lost affection, more than heartbreak. A hidden world pressed in, and every decision she made now carried weight she could not yet measure. The plane touched down at a distant city. Outside, the night sky stretched black, punctuated by foreign lights. Ivy followed, cautious but determined. She observed Asher disappear into a crowd that seemed ordinary, yet carried the undercurrent of something dangerous. Each step she took revealed contradictions. Was he running from her, from someone else, or toward something she could not yet imagine? Her phone buzzed again. One message, 3 words, everything changes tonight. The weight of the words pressed on her chest like a physical force. She realized the path ahead would be unpredictable, each choice fraught with unknown consequences. Every shadow in the street, every stranger's glance, every echo of movement might carry truth, or death. Toronto seemed a lifetime away now, but its echoes remained. The zoo, the festival, the streets she had once walked with ease. Each memory a reminder that the ordinary world had been irrevocably broken, replaced by a labyrinth of secrets and danger. And in this new city, on unfamiliar streets, Ivy's pursuit of Asher was no longer just about love, it was about survival, revelation, and the perilous thrill of discovering the truth before it discovered her. Night had draped Toronto in a quilt of lights, the CN Tower piercing the sky like a sentinel guarding secrets too heavy for the day. Ivy moved through familiar streets that now felt alien, the shadows stretched and distorted, hiding dangers and possibilities in equal measure. Every echo of her footsteps, every flicker of neon signs, seemed orchestrated to test her resolve. She found him at last. Or thought she did. Asher stood on a rooftop overlooking the city, the wind tugging at his coat, the distant hum of traffic below a reminder of the world continuing while their storm unfolded above it. His posture was tense, every inch of him a careful mask of control. But the moment she stepped closer, that mask began to fracture. The rooftop was a precarious stage, the city spread like a map beneath them. Ivy could feel the weight of every unanswered question pressing down. Why had he pulled away? What had he been hiding? And how much of the danger surrounding them was his secret, and how much was hers now? Asher's eyes met hers, and for the first time, there was no deflection, no half-truths. Only the raw edge of fear and the burden of revelation. He revealed that his disappearances had not been about avoidance, but protection, a web of threats Ivy had never glimpsed, dangerous forces tied to decisions he had made long before she entered his life. The truth was jagged, unexpected, and terrifying. Every instinct Ivy had relied upon now felt fragile. Before she could process it, movement rippled from the shadows. Figures emerged, their intentions unreadable, their steps deliberate. A chase unfolded across the rooftops, the cityscape a maze of possibilities. Ivy ran, her breaths sharp, every glance revealing fragments of Asher's cryptic warnings and unfinished explanations. The night twisted unpredictably, each turn could reveal salvation or peril. They descended into streets bathed in festival lights, echoes of music and laughter blending with the thrum of danger. The distillery district's cobblestones reflected the chaos, shadows folding over themselves, alleys twisting like a puzzle that only the desperate could solve. Ivy and Asher moved together, sometimes apart, always on the edge of uncertainty. At last, they reached a bridge overlooking the water, reflections of the CN Tower shimmering like fractured promises. Asher turned, his face a mixture of relief, exhaustion, and the vulnerability he had rarely allowed anyone to see. Ivy stood before him, heart pounding, mind racing with the impossible question, could she trust him now? Could she believe the truth he revealed amidst so much uncertainty? For a long moment, the city held its breath. The wind stirred the surface of the water, carrying away the echoes of chaos, danger, and unanswered questions. Ivy and Asher faced each other, two people forever changed by a maze of secrets, misdirection, and suspense that had reshaped everything they thought they knew about each other. The final twist came silently, almost imperceptibly, a message on her phone, this time not from Asher, the path is never what it seems. And in that instant, Ivy realized that while danger had passed, unpredictability remained. Some questions had answers, but some truths could only live in shadows, leaving the story suspended between revelation and possibility.